Welcome thou to the review of Friday the 13th, the series with Nate and Beth. This time coming at you to review season 1, episode 19, I want to say. Is that correct?
I think so.
What's the title of it?
Hathorn's Quilt, the Quilt of Hathor.
The Quilt of Hathor.
Hathor.
Would you like to start off?
Well, we thought it was like a time traveling beginning, but it's just a gated community.
Is this I wonder if this is a real thing. It's very much like the what are those what are those villages?
Very, very pure people.
What are those villages?
I can't think of it right now.
What are those villages?
Oh.
Anyway, them people who, you know.
They live cleanly without any electricity.
I don't know if the people in this episode are made up for the episode or if it's a real people, but they're basically like those people.
Puritans.
We can't
we'll just
think
call them
of.
Puritans.
I'll probably think of it. But anyway, like Beth says, we thought it was
time travel thing.
A beginning that took place in the past, but it's just these people who live this way, taking present day, 88. And what happens?
Jealousy, I guess, happens.
Ooh.
It's the best way of putting it. So there's a carriage, and a man and a woman are being brought home, and the man happens to be the main priest of this culture, and the young woman taking the horse back into the barn saw him kissing, and she got rather upset, saying that it's a sin, and that the reverend said it's not a sin to kiss your betrothed. And that caused a whole bunch of fury in this woman who has glasses. And what's her name?
Well, I have no idea. I'm not good with names.
Anyway, this young woman is very plain, and she wears glasses, and she's not very pretty. And that night, his betrothed dies in her sleep. And that brings us into, well, there's this really weird dream. I guess the dream of the one becomes the nightmare of the other with this quilt that was hidden underneath a bunch of other
The plain
quilts.
woman, I guess, goes to bed with this quilt and has a fantasy of who she wants to kill, and that person dies.
So then now we flash to
I can't remember. It was really actually cool. They were like dead on some balcony in the dream or something, and she falls off.
She falls off the balcony, and she also falls in her sleep.
So whatever happens in the dream
happens in reality. So then they flash forward, which is still present day, to the antique store. What's the name of it? Curious Goods. And Ryan is blasting music, bringing something down. And he kind of gets caught off guard because woman had returned a letter for possible cursed items. And she happens to be part of this Puritan civilization. And Ryan and Mickey end up going. And Ryan's like, what? No music? No dancing? No nothing? No fun? What am I going to do? And what happens to Ryan?
Oh. So he ends up just falling head over heels for this Puritan woman who's already engaged to this boring man who they don't even have a choice. I don't know.
Yeah, at the age of 7, this poor girl was betrothed to this young man.
So Ryan falls head over heels for this Puritan chick, and she likes him as well. And honestly, this one didn't do a whole lot for me, so I don't remember much. Maybe Beth might have to do the majority of the talk, because this, I guess, just because of the subject matter of the locale, and it didn't really interest me, I'm afraid. I mean, the quilt thing was cool, and whoever you want to off, you go to bed with the quilt.
And there's only 3 kills.
But that's because we found out that this is a two-parter. Is this the first two-parter in the series?
I think so.
So, yeah, this is a two-parter.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting ending. Well, okay, so...
Which we'll get to.
So the first death, we find out, this woman
Sarah is jealous.
Good is the oldest woman.
She wants to marry this guy. He didn't want to marry her. She basically killed the woman he wanted to marry. And it just happens twice in the course of this episode. Then
jealousy.
Then he chooses some other woman and she kills her.
Yeah.
And then, then this older woman finds out what she's doing.
She uses her gut to what's it called? Decipher, I guess. Who actually has this quilt that was stolen from her. It wasn't her possession. And that's why she went to the Curious Goods saying, yeah, this quilt was mine, and then all of a sudden it's gone. At first I was happy that it was gone, but we're such a shielded community that there's no one outside that could have taken it, so it's got to be someone within the community, which brought Mickey and Ryan to go into this community, where Ryan fell head over heels of this young woman, and she was pretty. And then I guess there's a fight scene where he has to fight for her honor and cleanse the village of evil, and I guess Ryan wins it. Well, I don't know if he wins it or not. It was kind of a draw.
No one died in the fight.
Because they're on this triangle pillar thing surrounded, that's around this
above fire coals.
And I guess they're supposed to put the loser into the fire, but Ryan knocks this guy outside of the ring, so he falls away from the fire and goes to this girl. And we think it's kind of the happy ending for them, but we have yet to see what happens, because Mickey finds out where the quilt is hidden, and after the third death of the old woman, who was the original owner of the quilt, which was keeping it safe, Mickey comes into this room, and the quilt is still on this young woman's bed, the plain woman's bed with the glasses, the murderess. And Mickey takes it off the bed and saying, "Oh, you're stealing from me. It's theft, and thou shalt not steal," and she's just quoting out the Bible, and Mickey leaves and packing, and Ryan comes into Mickey's room saying he's gonna stay, and Mickey gets all sad and returns alone to Curious Goods, and she lays it out on the table, and Jack looks at the quilt, and they don't know exactly what this quilt looks like, but he goes to take it off the table, and it rips.
Catches on a table corner and rips, and then he's like, uh-oh, and he starts to burn it, and she's like, what's going on? The real quilt can't be destroyed.
So...
to be continued. A pretty good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Best part, actually, of the episode is the cliffhanger, in my opinion. It's only just because I'm not into this kind of,
these and thous and old English.
Yeah, all that just old English speak and stuff. But this would probably be, really one of my least favorite ones. I'm going to say half thumb, maybe even... yeah, honestly, maybe this might be my least favorite one, actually. I'm going to go, for the very first time in the series, underneath. It's like if you're looking at a clock, it's like between 7 and 8 p.m. or a.m.
So not fully down.
Not fully down, but just a notch away from fully down. This is my lowest rating yet for the series. Yeah, I'd rather watch Poison Pen than this. So...
that's saying something.
So...
I'm gonna give it a half of a thumb. I'm gonna wait, because I'm still not happy with it, not upset with it. It's very creative. I like the way that they work the dream into the killing, as we're watching the last kill, and you're saving the picture on your screen with it. And it's very imaginative. with the dreams. That's why I'm only giving it a half, and I'm just going to reserve any final say until we see the second half, which I guess you listeners will have to wait for that review as well. So, I like it. Well, see, what kind of gets me is in the third dream, she's like in what's it called? The masquerade ball where they have masks.
Yeah.
And she reveals her mask, and her face is, the killer reveals her mask, and her face is all burned.
All red.
All red. So
why is it red?
I don't really understand that. That's the first time I've seen something negative happen to the owner
woman,
of the dream.
like in her own dream, she's got a bloody or red face. We don't know why. So there. Yeah, admittedly, when you have an episode that's a two-parter, then usually each of the two halves is more draggy than if you just have something happen in one episode, because you're kind of you're dragging something out twice to double the length. So that's another problem I have with this episode. It's just,
other than trying to figure out what the name of this group they're portraying. We're just going to call them Puritans, and by the time we're done with this recording, we'll probably remember what they're called.
Well, you know, the bonnet-wearing whatevers. Mm-hmm.
And it's so on the tip of my tongue. But even throughout this, the Reverend is getting more and more mad at all these deaths. Why are you taking your children from us in such violent ways? And
yeah, all the women he wants to marry are dying.
Yeah, all the women he wants to have coitus.
Yeah.
Coitus with is not
working out for him.
Not working out for him. So we know he's innocent in all this, but
I honestly don't know what they're gonna do to last a whole nother episode with the story. But
well, Mickey's got to find a way back into the community. She's already left.
Yeah,
so
but I mean, I just can't imagine
Jack's gonna come in. Ooh, that'll be interesting.
I just can't see who else would die, but I guess we'll find out.
Well, the only person that's waiting to die is the killer, but
you gotta have more than just the killer die in the next episode. Well, we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, that would be the fourth killing for this type of show.
Oh, did we mention, 3, because it's a two-parter, only three deaths in this episode. The next one, the second half of the story, is called
The Quilt of Hathor. The Awakening? I did read that right.
Awakening. So
what's awakening? I think maybe she gets woken up in her sleep and stops, the murder.
It's possible. I think I can't remember what you guessed for this episode, but I was correct. I guessed
you
the
were
quilt.
Correct.
What
it
did
was
you?
A quilt.
Oh, you guessed maybe a needle.
A quilt, or maybe the machine that made the quilt.
Okay. Well.
So we'll have to see what happens.
In Quilt of Hathor, The Awakening, the second half of the non-thrilling full-length episode of Friday the 13th, the series, Season 1. I hope thee had a fun listening to thine review, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Good night, kids. It's been fun.